Right, folks, here we are, final video of this week, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the next time you're reading and experiencing the Crucible, it will be back in the classroom where the parts can be divided up, and you'll get a better sense of the community within the court and the worry and the fear and the anxiety. So that's all very exciting. So before I read what is quite a long section of the text today, just want to remind you of a couple of things from this week. So really, really important that you remember that when she came home this evening, Mary Warren, who had been in court all day, gave Elizabeth a poppet. Okay, and that's just a rag doll, the name that they used at that time. And in fact, if you Google poppet now for a definition, it comes up with that rag doll. I've never really come across it in modern novels that I've read, but there you go. So poppet, and that poppet she had made for Elizabeth in court that day. So that doll, that poppet, had never been in the proctor's house until about an hour earlier than this part of the scene takes place. And Mary Warren, as I say, had made that poppet in the court. So Hale had arrived to question the proctors about their beliefs and their behaviours. And if you remember, John Proctor is unable to remember the commandment about adultery. And as we discussed last, Monday, was it, or last week? The reason, the irony of the fact he can't remember adultery is, of course, the fact that he had an affair with Abigail Williams. So that is the commandment that he has actually broken, because adultery means to have a physical relationship with someone who isn't your wife or your husband, where you are being disloyal to them. And then Hale seems satisfied the proctors are good people. So where we left it yesterday, Hale was just about to leave and go on his next visit. And then the final thing I want to bring to your attention, because it is a word that comes up in the section that we're reading today, is the word lechery. And the word lechery is again linked to the idea of adultery. So if you have slept with, had a physical relationship with somebody other than your husband or your wife, then you are a lecher. Okay, and lechery is branded about quite near the end of the section that we're going to read today. Okay, so that's everybody back up to speed with what is really important information that we know as we head into this very exciting section of the text. Once again, I've warned all of my family that I am about to record a very emotional, very passionate section of the text, so that they don't come running when they hear me starting to scream and shout. Okay, time to get on with it. Here we go. I will read stage directions if I think they're important to your understanding of the text. Okay, right, here we go. So Giles Corey appears in the doorway. If you remember, Giles Corey was the man who spoke to Hale about his wife reading books, and how when she was reading her books, he couldn't pray, but when she then stopped reading her books, he could pray. Okay, so that's just reminding you of that character in Act 1. John! Giles, what's the matter? They take my wife. And is Rebecca. Rebecca's in the jail? Aye, Cheever come and take her in his wagon. We've only now come from the jail, and they'll not even let us to see them. They've surely gone wild now, Mr. Hale. Reverend Hale, can you not speak to the Deputy Governor? I'm sure he mistakes these people. Pray calm yourself, Mr. Nurse. My wife is the very brick and mortar of the church, Mr. Hale, and Martha Corey. There cannot be a woman closer yet to God than Martha. How is Rebecca charged, Mr. Nurse? For murder. She's charged for the marvellous and supernatural murder of Goody Putnam's babies. What am I to do, Mr. Hale? Hale turns from Francis, deeply troubled. Believe me, Mr. Nurse, if Rebecca Nurse be tainted, then nothing's left to stop the whole green world from burning. Let you rest upon the justice of the court. The court will send her home. I know it. You cannot mean she will be tried in court? Nurse, though our hearts break, we cannot flinch. These are new times, sir. There is a misty plot afoot, so subtle we should be criminal to cling to old respects and ancient friendships. I have seen too many frightful proofs in court. The devil is alive in Salem, and we dare not quail to follow wherever the accusing finger points. How may such a woman murder children? Man, remember, until an hour before the devil fell, God thought him beautiful in heaven. I never said my wife were a witch, Mr. Hale. I only said she were reading books. Mr. Corey, exactly what complaint were made on your wife? that bloody mongrel Wk2 charger. You see, he buy a pig of my wife 4 or 5 years ago, and the pig died soon after. So he came dancing in for his money back. So my Martha, she says to him, Walcott, if you haven't the wit to feed a pig properly, you'll not live to own many, she says. Now he goes to court and claims that from that day to this, he cannot keep a pig alive for more than 4 weeks because my Martha bewitch him with her books. Enter Ezekiel Cheever. A shocked silence. There's a silence here because Cheever is a marshal of the court, and he would have already visited the houses of Giles Corey and Francis Nurse to arrest their wives earlier that evening. Good evening to you, Proctor. Why, Mr. Cheever, good evening. Good evening all. Good evening, Mr. Hale. I hope you come not on business of the court. I do, Proctor, I am clerk of the court now, you know. Enter Marshal Herrick, a man in his early 30s, who is somewhat shamefaced at the minute. That means he's looking very embarrassed about being at the proctor's house. It's a pity, Ezekiel, that an honest tailor might have gone to heaven, must burn in hell. You'll burn for this. Do you know it? You know yourself I must do as I'm told. You surely know that, Giles, and I'd as lief you not be sending me to hell. I like not the sound of it, I tell you. I like not the sound of it. He fears Proctor, but starts to reach inside his coat. Now, believe me, Proctor, how heavy be the law, all its tonnage I do carry on my back tonight. I have a warrant for your wife. You said she were not charged. I know nothing of it. When was she charged? I am given 16 warrant tonight, sir, and she is one. Who charged her? Why, Abigail Williams charged her. On what proof? What proof? Mr. Proctor, I have little time. The court bid me search your house, but I like not to search a house, so will you hand me any poppets that your wife may keep here? Poppets? Poppets? I have no poppets, not since I were a girl. Embarrassed, Cheever, glancing toward the mantel where sits Mary Warren's poppet. I spy a poppet, Goody Proctor. Oh, this is Mary's. Would you please to give it to me? Has the court discovered a text in poppets now? Do you keep any others in this house? No, nor this one either till tonight. What signifies a poppet? Why, a poppet, he gingerly turns the poppet over, a poppet may signify... Now, woman, will you please to come with me? She will not. Fetch Mary here. No, I am forbid to leave her from my sight. You'll leave her out of sight and out of mine, mister. Fetch Mary, Elizabeth. What signifies a poppet, Mr. Cheever? Why, they say it may signify that she... He has lifted the poppet's skirt and his eyes widen in astonished fear. Why, this... What's there? Why, he draws out a long needle from the poppet. It is a needle. Herrick, it is a needle. Proctor angrily, bewildered. And what signifies a needle? Oh, why, this go hard with her, Proctor, this... I have my doubts, Proctor, I have my doubts, but here's calamity. You see it, sir, it is a needle. Why? What meaning has it? Wide-eyed and trembling. The girl, the Williams girl, Abigail Williams, sir. She sat to dinner in Reverend Parris's house tonight, and without a word nor warning, she falls to the floor like a struck beast, he says, and screamed a scream that a bull would weep to hear. And he goes to save her, and, stuck 2 inches in the flesh of her belly, he draw a needle out, and demanding of her how she come to be so stabbed, she testify it were your wife's familiar spirit pushed it in. Why, she done it herself. I hope you're not taking this for proof, mister. Hale, struck by the proof, is silent. 'Tis hard proof. I find here a poppet Goody Proctor keeps. I have found it, sir, and in the belly of the poppet a needle stuck. I tell you true, Proctor, I never warranted to see such proof of hell, and I bid you obstruct me not, for I... Enter Elizabeth with Mary Warren. Proctor, seeing Mary Warren, draws her by the arm to Hale. Here now, Mary, how did this Proctor come into my house? I think I just said, how did this Proctor? How did this poppet come into my house? Frightened for herself, her voice very small. What poppet's that, sir? This poppet! Why, I think it is mine. It is your poppet, is it not? Not understanding the direction of this questioning. It is, sir. And how did it come into this house? Why, I made it in the court, sir, and give it to Goody Proctor tonight. Now, sir, do you have it? Mary Warren, a needle have been found inside this poppet. Why, I meant no harm, like, sir. So you stuck that needle in yourself. I believe I did, sir. What say you now? Hale, watching Mary Warren closely. Child, you are certain this be your natural memory? May it be perhaps that someone conjures you even now to say this. Conjures me? What? Why, no, sir. I am entirely myself, I think. Let you ask Susanna Walcott. She saw me sewing it in court. Or ask Abby. Abby sat beside me when I made it. Bid him begone. Your mind is surely settled now. Bid him out, Mr. Hale. What signifies a needle? Mary, you charge a cold and cruel murder on Abigail. Murder? I charge no. Abigail was stabbed tonight. A needle was found stuck into her belly. Oh, and she charges me. I. Why? The girl is murder. She must be ripped out of the world. You heard that, sir. Ripped out of the world. Herrick, you heard it. Oh, out with you. Proctor, you dare not touch the warrant. Proctor ripping the warrant. Out with you. You've ripped the Deputy Governor's warrant, man. Damn the Deputy Governor. Out of my house. Now, Proctor, get ye gone with them. You are a broken minister. Proctor, if she is innocent, the court, if she is innocent, why do you never wonder if Paris be innocent? Or Abigail? Is the accuser always holy now? Were they born this morning as clean as God's fingers? I'll tell you what's walking Salem. Vengeance is walking Salem. We are what we always were in Salem, but now the little crazy children are jangling the keys of the kingdom, and common vengeance writes the law. This warrants vengeance. I'll not have my wife to vengeance. I'll go, John. You will not go. I have 9 men outside. You cannot keep her. The law binds me, John. I cannot budge. Proctor to Hale, ready to break him. Will you see her taken? Proctor, the court is just. Oh, Pontius Pilate, God will not let you wash your hands of this. John, I think I must go with them. Mary, there is bread enough for the morning. You will bake in the afternoon. Help Mr. Proctor as you were his daughter. You owe me that, and much more. She is fighting her weeping. When the children wake, speak nothing of witchcraft. It will frighten them. I will bring you home. I will bring you soon. Oh, John, bring me soon. I will fall like an ocean on that court. Fear nothing, Elizabeth. Elizabeth with great fear. I will fear nothing. Tell the children I've gone to visit someone sick. She walks out the door, Herrick and Cheever behind her. For a moment, Proctor watches from the doorway. The clank of chains is heard. Herrick! Herrick, don't chain her! Damn you, man, you will not chain her! Off with them! I'll not have it! I will not have her chained! There are other men's voices against his. Hale, in a fever of guilt and uncertainty, turns from the door to avoid the sight. Mary Warren bursts into tears and sits weeping. Giles Corey calls to Hale. And yet silent, Minister? It is fraud. You know it is fraud. What keeps you, man? I'll pay you, Herrick. I will surely pay you. In God's name, John, I cannot help myself. I must chain them all. Now let you keep inside this house till I am gone. Proctor stands there, gulping air. Horses and a wagon creaking are heard. Mr. Proctor, ow, out of my sight. Charity, Proctor, charity. What I have heard in her favour, I will not fear to testify in court. God help me, I cannot judge her guilty or innocent. I know not. Only this consider. The world goes mad, and it profit nothing you should lay the cause to the vengeance of a little girl. You are a coward. Though you be ordained in God's own tears, you are a coward now. Proctor, I cannot think God be provoked so grandly by such a petty cause. The jails are packed. Our greatest judges sit in Salem now, and hangings promised. Man, we must look to cause proportionate. Were there murder done, perhaps, and never brought to light? Abomination, some secret blasphemy that stinks to heaven. Think on cause, man, and let you help me to discover it. For there's your way, believe it, there is your only way when such confusion strikes upon the world. He goes to Giles and Francis. Let you counsel among yourselves. Think on your village, and what may have drawn from heaven such thundering wrath upon you all. I shall pray God open up our eyes. I never heard no murder done in Salem. Leave me, Francis. Leave me. John, tell me, are we lost? Go home now, Giles. We'll speak on it tomorrow. Let you think on it. We'll come early, eh? Aye. Go now, Giles. Good night, then. Mr. Proctor, very likely they'll let her come home once they're given proper evidence. You're coming to court with me, Mary. You will tell it in the court. I cannot charge murder on Abigail. You will tell the court how that poppet came here and who stuck the needle in. She'll kill me for saying that. Oh, Abby'll charge lechery on you, Mr. Proctor. She's told you? I have known it, sir. She'll ruin you with it, I know she will. Hesitating and with deep hatred of himself. Good. Then her saintliness is done with. Oh, we will slide together into our pit. You will tell the court what you know. I cannot. They'll turn on me. I cannot. My wife will never die for me. I will bring your guts into your mouth, but that goodness will not die for me. Oh, I cannot do it. I cannot. Make your peace with it. Now, hell and heaven grapple on our backs, and all our old pretences ripped away. Oh, make your peace. I cannot. Oh, I cannot. Peace. Oh, it is a providence and no great change. We are what we always were, but naked now. I naked, and the wind, God's icy wind, will blow. I cannot. I cannot. Right, in your exercise books on your paper, I would like you to write today's date and then the title, The Poppet Lie. Okay, pause me, come back when you've done those two things. So, Abigail Williams accuses Elizabeth of sending her witch's familiar spirit to kill her while she ate dinner at her uncle's house. Her proof is the poppet Mary Warren gave Elizabeth that evening, which is found with a needle stuck into its body, just like Abigail had a needle stuck into her chest. As an audience, we know this is a lie because we saw Mary Warren give the poppet to Elizabeth a short while ago, and that poppet is put straight onto the mantelpiece. So we need to think then creatively. We're not going to do a P paragraph or anything like that. Creatively about how this plan of accusing Elizabeth came to Abigail as she sat in court today. Okay, so at the top of the screen we have a quote from the section of text I've read today. Mary Warren says, "Conjures me? Why no, sir, I am entirely myself, I think. Let you ask Susanna Walcott. She saw me sewing it in court. Ask Abby. Abby sat beside me when I made it." Okay, so it is very clear that Abigail is lying and that she has been very devious and cunning and manipulative and used her knowledge of Mary Warren making this poppet today to accuse Elizabeth of witchcraft and trying to murder her. Okay, so your task is imagine you are Abigail Williams. From her perspective, write about being in court today and seeing Mary Warren make the poppet for Elizabeth. Show how you come up with your plan to accuse Elizabeth of witchcraft and murder, knowing that poppet will be in the proctor's house this evening. And then just to help you, this isn't a long piece of writing. I'm thinking this will take you 10 or 15 minutes, which is the end of the lesson. I've given you 5 ideas there to help you on your way if you're a bit stuck of how to get started. So you sit in court next to Mary Warren, wishing Elizabeth were already accused. You notice Mary making the poppet, and you don't actually like Mary very much. You think she's quite weak and pathetic. And then this idea starts to form about using the poppet to get at Elizabeth. And then when you see Mary place the needle in the poppet's body and describe that bit, then your plan becomes crystal clear and you're delighted with your cleverness and the idea of having John Proctor for yourself. Please make sure you write in paragraphs. Please make sure you're thinking about punctuation. In the parents' evening for Year 9, I talked a lot about the importance of punctuation and vocabulary. So let's try improving those skills straight away. Right, folks, get on with that. If you run out of time, feel free to use part of your reading lesson this week to finish that piece of work off. Okay, bye for now.